The red dust of Kepler 442c swirled around Dr. Hyunwoo Park as he carefully brushed away centuries of sediment from what appeared to be a metallic surface buried deep beneath the planet's crust. His team had been digging for 3 months now, following energy readings that suggested something artificial lay hidden far below the surface. The planet had been dead for thousands of years, its atmosphere long since stripped away by cosmic winds, but the readings never lied. "I think we found something," Hyunwoo called out through his helmet communicator to the rest of the excavation team. His gloved hands traced the smooth surface they had uncovered, feeling the strange warmth that seemed to pulse through the metal despite the freezing conditions around them. Ji-Young Kim dropped her geological scanner and rushed over to where Hyunwoo was working. As the team's linguist and xenoarchaeologist, she had been waiting for this moment since they first detected the anomalous readings 3 months ago. She knelt beside him and ran her own instruments over the surface, watching as her scanner displayed readings that made no sense according to human science. "The metal is not from this planet," Ji-Young said, her voice filled with excitement and concern. "In fact, it might not be metal at all. The molecular structure is unlike anything in our databases." Taemin Lee, the expedition commander, approached their position with measured steps. He had led dozens of exploration missions to dead worlds across the galaxy, but something about this discovery felt different. The energy readings were too regular, too purposeful to be natural formation. "How big is it?" Taemin asked, studying the exposed surface that seemed to extend far beyond what they could see. "We estimate at least 50 meters in each direction," Hyunwoo replied, continuing his careful excavation work. "But it could be much larger. The energy signature suggests this is just the top of something much bigger." For the next 6 hours, the team worked in shifts to clear away more of the accumulated dust and rock. What they found defied explanation. The structure was perfectly preserved, showing no signs of age or weathering despite being buried for what their dating equipment suggested was over 50,000 years. Geometric patterns covered its surface, flowing in designs that seemed to shift and change when viewed from different angles. Ji-Young spent most of her time documenting the symbols and patterns they uncovered. Her translation software, designed to work with known alien languages from the few species humanity had encountered, produced nothing but error messages when she fed it the strange markings. "These symbols are not random," she reported to Taemin during their evening briefing. "There is definitely a structure here, a language or communication system, but it is unlike anything we have seen before." As they worked deeper into the structure, Hyunwoo's excavation equipment struck something that rang like a bell when touched. Clearing away the remaining debris revealed what appeared to be a circular panel set into the surface, covered with the same flowing symbols but arranged in a more deliberate pattern. "It looks like some kind of interface," Hyunwoo said, running his scanners over the panel. "The energy readings are strongest here." Taemin made the decision that would change everything. After consulting with Earth Command and receiving permission to proceed, he authorized the team to attempt activating the interface. Ji-Young placed her gloved hand on the central symbol, and immediately the entire structure came to life. Lights pulsed beneath the surface in patterns that matched the symbols above. The air around them began to hum with energy, and suddenly a beam of light shot up from the panel, creating a 3-dimensional display that hung in the air above their heads. The holographic display showed images that took their breath away. Star maps of the galaxy, but not as humanity knew it. This map showed civilizations and species scattered across thousands of worlds, connected by lines that suggested trade routes or communication networks. Most shocking of all, one small yellow star in a familiar spiral arm was clearly marked, with a third planet highlighted in pulsing red. "That is Earth," Ji-Young whispered, her voice barely audible through the communicator. They knew about Earth. The display shifted, showing new images. Alien beings of various shapes and sizes, some humanoid, others completely unlike anything in human imagination. Text appeared alongside the images, written in the same flowing script they had found on the structure's surface. "I need time to work on this language," Ji-Young said, her fingers dancing over her portable computer as she tried to record and analyze everything they were seeing. "But I think this might be some kind of historical record or database." Over the following days, Ji-Young worked tirelessly to decode the alien script. She used pattern recognition software, compared symbol frequency, and applied every linguistic technique she knew. Slowly, patterns began to emerge. The script was mathematical in nature, with symbols representing not just words, but concepts and relationships. The breakthrough came when she realized that many of the symbols were actually star charts and astronomical data. Once she understood this connection, the rest of the language began to fall into place like pieces of a puzzle. "Taemin, you need to see this," Ji-young called out on the morning of their 8th day at the site. Her voice carried a tone that made everyone stop what they were doing and gather around her workstation. "I have translated enough of their script to understand what we are looking at," she continued, her hands shaking slightly as she spoke. "This is not just a historical record, it is a collection of prophecies, predictions about the future of the galaxy." Taemin felt a chill run down his spine. "What kind of predictions?" Ji-young activated the holographic display again, this time with her translation software overlaying the alien text with human words. The display showed the galaxy map again, but now they could read the labels and descriptions that accompanied each marked star system. "The beings who created this called themselves the Valthara," Ji-young explained. "They appear to have been explorers and scientists, traveling throughout the galaxy and studying different species. But more than that, they seem to have had the ability to predict how these species would develop and evolve." She pointed to different sections of the star map as she spoke. "Here they describe a species of energy beings who would eventually transcend physical form. Here, a race of insects who would create a hive mind spanning multiple star systems. The predictions go on, covering hundreds of different worlds and species." "And Earth?" Taemin asked, though he already suspected what the answer would. Ji-young's finger moved to the familiar yellow star, and the display zoomed in to show the third planet in detail. Text appeared around the image, which her software slowly translated into human language. "From the third world of the yellow star will come the species that bends reality to their will through determination alone," Ji-young read aloud. "They will be young when they reach the stars, but their potential for both creation and destruction will exceed all others. When they join the galactic community, nothing will remain unchanged." The team stood in stunned silence as the implications of what they had discovered began to sink in. Hyun-woo was the first to speak. "They are talking about us," he said quietly. "Humanity." Ji-young nodded grimly. "But there is more, much more." She continued reading from the translated text. "The young species will face a choice that will determine the fate of all life in the galaxy. They will be feared by those who value stability above growth, welcomed by those who understand that stagnation leads to death. The galaxy will be divided, and in that division, the true nature of the young species will be revealed." Taemin looked around at his team, seeing his own concerns reflected in their faces. "Keep translating," he ordered. "I need to know everything this prophecy says about humanity and our future." As Ji-young worked, more details emerged. The Valthara had not just predicted humanity's rise to space travel, but had apparently left specific instructions and warnings for other species about how to deal with humans when they eventually made contact. According to this, Ji-young said, highlighting another section of text, the Valthara believed that humanity would serve as a catalyst for galactic evolution. They predicted that our arrival in galactic society would force other species to either adapt and grow or be left behind by the changing universe. The prophecy also contained warnings. It spoke of humanity's capacity for warfare and destruction, but balanced this with references to human creativity, adaptability, and the ability to find solutions where others saw only problems. "They knew we would be different," Hyun-woo observed. "The question is, did they see us as a threat or an opportunity?" "Both," Ji-young replied after reading further. "The text suggests that humanity represents both the greatest hope and the greatest danger the galaxy has ever known." Taemin made a decision that would haunt him for the rest of his life. He ordered Ji-young to continue her translation work in secret, while the rest of the team focused on documenting and cataloging the physical structure they had found. He sent a coded message to Earth Command, informing them of the discovery but not yet revealing the full implications of what they had found. 3 days later, their long-range sensors detected something that made Taemin's blood run cold. Ships were approaching their position, but they were not human ships. The energy signature, Admiral So-hyun Choi stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel New Seoul, watching the massive alien ships that had appeared seemingly from nowhere around their position near Kepler 442c. The vessels were unlike anything in human design philosophy, their surfaces flowing like liquid metal while maintaining perfect geometric precision. Each ship was at least 3 times the size of her flagship, and her sensors counted 12 of them arranged in a perfect sphere around the human fleet. "Admiral, we are receiving another transmission," reported Lieutenant Woo Seok-han from the communications station. His voice carried the tension that everyone on the bridge was feeling. "Put it through," So-hyun ordered, straightening her uniform as she prepared to make first contact with an unknown alien species. The voice that emerged from the speakers was different from the one that had contacted Taemin's expedition team 3 days earlier. This one carried more authority, more weight. "I am Fleet Commander Vexhai of the Zephyrian Collective. You will prepare one of your vessels to receive our diplomatic envoy. You will bring representatives of your species to discuss matters of galactic importance." So-hyun exchanged glances with Dr. Min-ho Yang, Earth's leading xenobiologist, who had been assigned to her expedition specifically for situations like this. The scientist looked both excited and terrified at the prospect of meeting alien life forms. "Commander Vexhai," So-hyun responded carefully, "we welcome diplomatic contact with your people. However, we were not expecting to encounter other spacefaring species in this region. May I ask how you learned of our presence here?" There was a long pause before the alien commander responded. "Your species has been monitored since you began expanding beyond your home system. The discovery you have made on the planet below has accelerated our timeline for contact. Prepare your representatives. We will begin transport in 1 standard galactic hour." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the bridge in tense silence. So-hyun knew that Earth Command had assigned Ambassador Na Young-han to her fleet specifically for first contact scenarios, but she had hoped their first meeting with aliens would be under more controlled circumstances. "Dr. Yang," she said, turning to the xenobiologist, "what do you think we are dealing with here?" Min-ho consulted his portable computer, reviewing the data they had collected on the alien ships. "The technology is clearly far more advanced than ours," he replied. "The fact that they were able to detect our presence and arrive here so quickly suggests they have been watching us for some time. Their reference to galactic importance implies that our discovery on the planet has significance beyond what we currently understand." 1 hour later, a small alien shuttle approached the New Seoul. The craft made no visible use of conventional propulsion, instead seeming to glide through space as if gravity itself was bending to accommodate its movement. It docked with their main shuttle bay, using a docking system that somehow perfectly matched their human specifications despite being of completely alien design. Ambassador Na Young-han had prepared herself as best she could for this moment, but nothing could have readied her for what emerged from the alien shuttle. The being that stepped onto their deck was humanoid in basic shape, but stood nearly 3 meters tall. Its skin had a crystalline quality that seemed to refract light in impossible ways, and its eyes were large and multifaceted like those of an insect. "I am Diplomatic Envoy Kethvar," the being said. Its voice somehow transmitted directly into their minds rather than through the air. "I speak for the Zephyrian Collective in matters concerning your species." Na Young stepped forward, her diplomatic training taking over despite her amazement. "I am Ambassador Na Young-han, representing humanity and the Earth Alliance. We are honored by this contact and hope to establish peaceful relations with your people." Kethvar's multifaceted eyes seemed to study her for a long moment before responding. "Peace is not the primary concern at this moment, Ambassador Han. Your species has discovered something that changes the balance of galactic civilization. We must discuss the implications of this discovery and what it means for the future." The diplomatic party moved to the conference room that had been hastily prepared for the meeting. Dr. Yang took careful notes as Kethvar began to explain the situation from the alien perspective. "Your species is known to us," the envoy began, "as it is known to many others throughout the galaxy. The records you discovered on the planet below were created by the Valthara, a species that vanished from the galaxy over 50,000 of your years ago. Before their disappearance, they left warnings and predictions about various species that would rise to prominence in the galactic community." Na Young felt her heart racing as the implications became clear. You are saying that multiple alien species knew about humanity before we achieved space travel? Correct, Kethvar replied. The Valthara were gifted with the ability to perceive potential futures. Their prophecies have proven accurate in every case where they have come to pass. The prophecy concerning your species has been a subject of debate and concern among galactic civilizations for millennia. Dr. Yang leaned forward in his chair. What exactly does the prophecy say about us? Kethvar paused, and for the first time since the meeting began, the alien seemed to show something resembling emotion. When it spoke again, its mental voice carried undertones of both fear and fascination. The prophecy describes your species as reality shapers, beings who refuse to accept limitations and who change the fundamental nature of existence simply by applying determination and will. It predicts that when humans reach the stars, they will force all other species to evolve, or be left behind by the changing universe. The conference room fell silent as the humans absorbed this information. Finally, Na-Young found her voice. And how do the other galactic species feel about this prophecy? They are divided, Kethvar admitted. Some see your species as the key to galactic advancement, a catalyst that will push all civilization to new heights. Others view you as an existential threat that must be contained or eliminated before you can disrupt the stability we have maintained for thousands of years. Admiral So-hyun, who had been listening quietly from her position at the head of the table, finally spoke. Which group does the Zephyrian Collective belong to? Kethvar's crystalline features seemed to shift slightly. We have not yet decided. That is why this meeting is taking place. We need to understand your species better before we determine whether you represent hope or danger for the galaxy. Over the next several hours, Kethvar explained the structure of galactic civilization as the aliens understood it. 12 major species formed the core of the Zephyrian Collective, each contributing their unique strengths to a federation that had maintained peace and stability across thousands of star systems for over 10,000 years. The Kithara were an insectoid species that excelled at biological engineering and had created some of the most beautiful garden worlds in the galaxy. The Luminal were beings of pure energy who served as the collective's communication network, able to transmit information instantaneously across vast distances. The Nexari had developed a hive mind that allowed them to coordinate massive construction projects, building artificial worlds and stellar megastructures. Each species found their niche, Kethvar explained, and by working together while maintaining our unique characteristics, we created a stable and prosperous galactic community. The Valthara prophecy suggests that humanity will disrupt this stability. Dr. Yang studied his notes carefully before asking the question that had been bothering him since the meeting began. How do you know the prophecy is accurate? Have other Valthara predictions come true? Every single one, Kethvar replied grimly. The Valthara predicted the rise of the Nexari hive mind 3,000 years before it occurred. They foresaw the transcendence of the luminal from physical to energy-based existence. They even predicted the discovery of faster-than-light travel and which species would develop it first. Na-Young felt a chill run down her spine. What else does the prophecy say about humanity's future? Kethvar hesitated before answering. It speaks of a great division that will come when humanity joins the galactic community. Species will be forced to choose between embracing change and clinging to the old ways. The prophecy suggests that this choice will determine whether the galaxy enters a new golden age or descends into chaos and war. Admiral So-hyun stood up from her chair, her military bearing taking over. Are you here to deliver an ultimatum? In a sense, yes, Kethvar admitted. The collective has prepared two possible responses to humanity's emergence. The first is integration, where we work together to manage the changes that your species will inevitably bring. The second is containment, where we use our superior technology to limit human expansion and prevent the disruption predicted by the prophecy. The word containment hung in the air like a threat. Dr. Yang was the first to speak. And if humanity refuses to accept containment? Kethvar's multifaceted eyes seemed to dim slightly. Then the collective will have no choice but to consider more permanent solutions to prevent galactic destabilization. Young realized that they were not just discussing first contact diplomacy, but potentially the survival of the human species. What would integration look like? Dr. Yunjin Lee stared at the quantum equations flowing across her holographic display, her mind racing as she tried to understand the impossible technology she had discovered in the deepest chambers of the Velthara vault. While the diplomatic crisis unfolded in space above, she had continued working with Colonel Jinwoo Park and his security team to explore the ancient alien structure that had started everything. The mathematics do not make sense according to our current understanding of physics, Yunjin muttered to herself as she manipulated the floating symbols with her gloved hands. They are describing technology that should be impossible. Jinwoo approached her workstation, his expression grim. Dr. Lee, we have discovered something else that you need to see immediately. He led her through a newly opened passage that his team had found hidden behind what appeared to be a solid wall. The corridor stretched deep into the planet's crust, its walls covered with the same flowing symbols they had been studying for weeks. But these symbols were different, more complex, arranged in patterns that seemed to tell a story. How far down? Does this go? Yunjin asked as they descended along a pathway that curved gently downward. We have mapped at least 2 kilometers so far, Jinwoo replied, but our sensors suggest it continues much deeper. The energy readings are getting stronger as we go down. At the end of the passage, they found a vast chamber carved from the living rock of the planet. The space was enormous, easily large enough to hold a small city, and every surface was covered with the Velthara script. But more importantly, the chamber contained technology that was still active after 50,000 years. Massive crystalline structures rose from the floor like frozen trees, each one pulsing with soft light that created patterns across the chamber walls. Streams of energy flowed between the crystals in complex webs that reminded Yunjin of neural networks. At the center of it all stood a platform containing what could only be described as a 3-dimensional map of the entire galaxy. My God, Yunjin breathed as she approached the galactic display. This is not just a map, it is a real-time representation of galactic civilization. The display showed thousands of star systems, each one marked with symbols that indicated the species that inhabited them. Lines of light connected various systems, showing trade routes, communication networks, and political alliances. Most remarkably, the display was updating in real time, showing the movement of ships and the current status of different civilizations. Jinwoo pointed to a familiar spiral arm where a yellow star pulsed with urgent red light. Earth, he said simply. But it was not just Earth that was highlighted. Yunjin could see the human exploration fleets scattered across nearby star systems, including their current position at Kepler 442c. The display was somehow tracking every human vessel in space. How is this possible? She wondered aloud. The Velthara have been extinct for 50,000 years. As if responding to her question, the chamber suddenly filled with a new presence. A holographic figure materialized. On the central platform, tall and graceful with features that were recognizably humanoid, but clearly not human. The being's skin had a translucent quality, and its eyes held depths that suggested vast intelligence and experience. I am the archive keeper, the figure said, its voice resonating through the chamber in perfect English. I have been waiting for your species to find this place. Yunjin and Jinwoo stood frozen in amazement as the holographic Velthara continued speaking. I am not truly alive, but rather a memory preserved in quantum crystal, programmed to activate when the young species from the third world of the yellow star finally reached the necessary level of technological development to find and understand our message. Jinwoo was the first to find his voice. You have been waiting for humanity specifically? We have been waiting for you for over 50,000 years, the archive keeper confirmed. Our species possessed the ability to perceive potential timelines, and we saw that your emergence was inevitable. More importantly, we saw that your emergence was necessary. Yunjin stepped closer to the platform, her scientific curiosity overcoming her amazement. The prophecy that the other galactic species fear, was it really a warning about humanity? The archive keeper's expression shifted to something that might have been amusement. The document your people discovered was never intended to be a prophecy of doom. It was an instruction manual, a guide for preparing the galaxy for the next phase of universal evolution. The galactic display shifted, zooming in to show various regions where the lights were dim or flickering. The galaxy is dying, the archive keeper explained. Not in any catastrophic sense, but slowly, through stagnation and the inability to adapt to changing cosmic conditions. The species that currently dominate galactic civilization have achieved stability, but at the cost of growth and innovation. Jinwoo studied the display, noting the patterns of dimming lights. What kind of cosmic conditions? The universe itself is evolving, the archive keeper replied. New forms of energy and matter are emerging that require different approaches to understand and utilize. The current galactic civilizations are too rigid in their thinking to adapt to these changes. They will slowly fade into extinction unless a catalyst species appears to force them to evolve. Yunjin felt pieces of a vast puzzle clicking into place in her mind. Humanity is the catalyst species. Precisely, the archive keeper confirmed. Your species possesses a unique combination of traits that make you ideal for this role. You are adaptable, innovative, and perhaps most importantly, you refuse to accept that any problem is truly unsolvable. The display shifted again, showing historical data about other species throughout galactic history. We were not the first catalyst species, the archive keeper continued. Every few million years, a species emerges with the necessary characteristics to push galactic civilization to new levels of development. Each time, the established civilizations resist the changes, leading to conflict and eventually to transformation. What happened to the previous catalyst species? Jinwoo asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. They served their purpose and then transcended to a higher level of existence, the archive keeper explained. We Velthara were the catalyst species before you. We pushed the galaxy from primitive tribal civilizations to the stable interstellar community that exists today. When our work was complete, we chose to step beyond physical existence rather than continue to dominate galactic affairs. Yunjin was studying the technology around them with growing understanding. The quantum equations I have been analyzing, they describe how reality can be manipulated at a fundamental level. Our gift to your species, the archive keeper said. The knowledge and technology necessary to fulfill your destiny as the new catalyst species. But like all catalysts, you will face a choice between transformation and destruction. The galactic display highlighted several star systems that pulsed with ominous red light. There are those among the current galactic civilizations who will fight to prevent the changes you represent. They have formed a coalition dedicated to containing or eliminating humanity before you can disrupt their carefully maintained stability. Jinwoo's military instincts kicked in. How many species are we talking about? The hardline faction includes approximately 30% of current galactic civilizations, the archive keeper replied. Led by the Corvani Empire, they believe that stability is more important than growth, and that the risk of allowing humanity to develop freely is too great to accept. And the other 70%? Yunjin asked. Divided between those who see the necessity of change and those who are simply afraid to take sides, the archive keeper explained. The moderate faction, led by species like the ethereal conclave, understands that stagnation leads to death, but they are uncertain whether humanity represents evolution or catastrophe. The archive keeper gestured to the crystal structures around them. This technology will give you the tools you need to prove that evolution and growth are possible without destruction, but the choice of how to use it remains yours. Yunjin approached one of the larger crystals, feeling the energy that pulsed within it. What exactly can this technology do? It allows direct manipulation of quantum fields, enabling you to alter the fundamental properties of matter and energy, the archive keeper explained. With proper understanding, it can be used to create new forms of technology, heal damaged ecosystems, even stabilize dying stars. Or it could be used as a weapon, Jinwoo observed grimly. Every tool can be used for creation or destruction, the archive keeper acknowledged. That is why the choice facing your species is so critical. The Hardline Coalition fears that you will use this technology to dominate or destroy other species. The moderate faction hopes that you will use it to lift all galactic civilization to new heights. Yunjin was already beginning to understand the applications of what she was seeing. The equations suggest that this technology could solve the cosmic problem you mentioned, the changing universal conditions that are causing galactic stagnation. Correct, the archive keeper confirmed. But solving that problem will require cooperation between humanity and the existing galactic species. It cannot be accomplished by any one civilization alone. President Haiwan Song stood before the assembled leaders of humanity, her face grave as she prepared to deliver news that would forever change their species' relationship with the cosmos. The emergency session had been called after Dr. Jae-hyun Cho's breakthrough with the Valthera technology revealed the true scope of the crisis facing the galaxy. The reports from the Kepler expedition have confirmed our worst fears, she began, her voice carrying across the packed chamber. We are not facing a simple diplomatic challenge with alien species. We are facing the potential extinction of all life in the galaxy. The holographic display behind her showed Dr. Cho's analysis of the void storms, massive cosmic phenomena that were slowly consuming star systems at the galaxy's edge. The assembled delegates gasped as they saw the scale of destruction already wrought and the projected timeline for the storm's arrival at Earth. Dr. Cho's team has determined that these void storms are not natural disasters, President Song continued. They are the remnants of a failed catalyst species from millions of years ago, a civilization that attempted to transcend physical existence, but instead created an expanding zone of pure chaos. Dr. Cho stepped forward to explain his findings. The Valthera technology has allowed us to understand the quantum mechanics behind these storms. They represent a breakdown in the fundamental structure of space-time itself, creating regions where the normal laws of physics no longer apply. Commander In-young Park raised her hand from the military section. What does this mean for our current situation with the Galactic Coalition? It means that the alien species threatening us are not evil or malicious, President Song replied. They are afraid. They have been fighting these storms for over 1,000 years without success, and they see humanity as either their salvation or as a distraction that will prevent them from finding a solution before it is too late. The President activated another display showing the current status of the Galactic Assembly on Nexus Prime. Ambassador Han and Admiral Choi are currently presenting humanity's case to the Galactic Coalition, but initial reports suggest that fear is winning over hope. The hardline faction, led by the Corvani Empire, is gaining support for their proposal to eliminate humanity before we can potentially make the situation worse. Engineer Wu Jin-nam, who had been working with Dr. Cho on understanding the Valthera technology, stood up. Madam President, we believe we have found a solution to the void storm crisis. The chamber fell silent as all attention focused on the engineer. The Valthera technology includes designs for something they called a reality anchor, a device capable of stabilizing quantum fluctuations across vast areas of space. Our analysis suggests that a properly constructed reality anchor could not only stop the void storms but transform them into something beneficial. Dr. Cho activated a new set of displays showing their theoretical models. Instead of pure chaos and destruction, the transformed storms could become sources of creative energy, capable of revitalizing dying star systems and even creating new worlds suitable for life. President Song felt a spark of hope for the first time since learning about the cosmic crisis. How long would it take to build such a device? That is the problem, Wu Jin admitted. The reality anchor requires resources and technology from multiple species. No single civilization, including our own, has everything necessary to construct it. It would require unprecedented cooperation between humanity and the existing galactic species. Cooperation that seems impossible given the current political situation, Commander Park observed grimly. President Song made a decision that would define her presidency and possibly human history. We are going to propose a joint mission to stop the void storms. If the galactic species will not work with us willingly, we will have to convince them that cooperation is the only path to survival. Over the next several hours, the emergency session developed a comprehensive plan. Humanity would share the Valthera technology and the reality anchor designs with the Galactic Coalition, demonstrating that human innovation could provide solutions to problems that had seemed impossible. In exchange, they would request the resources and cooperation needed to build and deploy the device. Dr. Cho was assigned to lead a technical team that would travel to Nexus Prime to present the scientific evidence for their solution. Commander Park would command a military escort, prepared for the possibility that the hardline faction might attempt to prevent the presentation. "This is an enormous risk," admitted Defense Minister Young-hoon Kim. "We are revealing our most advanced technology to species that may still decide to destroy us. The alternative is watching the galaxy die while we fight each other," President Song replied. "The vile Thara chose humanity as the catalyst species for a reason. This is our test." 3 days later, Dr. Cho's expedition arrived at Nexus Prime to find the neutral world in chaos. The Galactic Assembly had split into 3 distinct factions, each occupying different sections of the massive space station that served as the meeting ground. The moderate faction, led by the ethereal beings of the Conclave, controlled the central, diplomatic areas. The hardline coalition, dominated by the militaristic Corvani, had established a heavily defended zone in the station's outer ring. Between them, a growing number of species had declared neutrality and were waiting to see which side would prove stronger. Ambassador Han met Dr. Cho at the docking bay, her expression showing the strain of days of fruitless negotiations. "The situation is worse than we hoped," she reported. "The Corvani have convinced several moderate species that humanity represents too great a risk. They are demanding that we submit to technological restrictions that would prevent us from building the reality anchor." "What about the technical presentation?" Dr. Cho asked. "Have they agreed to examine our solution to the Void Storm crisis?" "The moderates are willing to listen," Han replied, "but the hardliners refuse to attend any presentation. They claim that human technology is too dangerous to be trusted, regardless of its potential benefits." Commander Park surveyed the security situation as they made their way through the station's corridors. The tension was palpable, with alien security forces from different factions eyeing each other suspiciously. Several species had brought warships to the neutral system, officially for protection but obviously prepared for conflict. The presentation took place in the station's main assembly hall, a vast chamber designed to accommodate the diverse physical needs of hundreds of different species. Dr. Cho found himself standing before beings that represented millions of years of galactic evolution, each adapted to different worlds and different ways of thinking. "The crisis facing our galaxy requires a new approach," he began, activating the holographic displays that showed the Void Storm data. "For over 1,000 years, your civilizations have fought these storms using conventional technology and rigid thinking. The results speak for themselves." The display showed the steady expansion of the chaotic regions, the loss of entire star systems, and the gradual retreat of galactic civilization. Murmurs rippled through the assembled aliens as they saw their situation presented with stark clarity. "Humanity offers a different approach," Dr. Cho continued. "Using technology inherited from the Velthara, we have developed a solution that could not only stop the storms, but transform them into a force for renewal and growth." He activated the reality anchor schematics, showing how the device would work to stabilize quantum fluctuations across vast regions of space. The technical details were complex, but the implications were clear to the assembled scientists and leaders. A representative of the insectoid Chethera species stood up. "Your solution requires unprecedented cooperation between species that have never worked together on such a scale. How do you propose to coordinate such an effort?" "By recognizing that our survival depends on our ability to change and adapt," Dr. Cho replied. "The void storms are not just a physical threat. They represent what happens when stagnation and fear of change overcome the willingness to grow and evolve." The presentation continued for several hours, with Dr. Cho answering questions and addressing concerns from dozens of different species. Some were intrigued by the potential of the reality anchor technology, while others remained skeptical about humanity's motives. The breakthrough came when a representative of the energy-based luminal species shared their own analysis of the void storms. "Our studies confirm the human assessment," the being announced, its voice resonating through the chamber like music. "The storms are indeed the result of a failed transcendence attempt, and conventional technology cannot stop them." This endorsement from one of the galaxy's most respected scientific civilizations shifted the mood in the assembly. Species that had been skeptical began asking more detailed questions about the Reality Anchor project. However, the presentation was interrupted when alarms began sounding throughout the station. Commander Park's tactical display showed that several Corvani warships were approaching the neutral system, their weapons powered and ready for combat. The hardline faction has decided that diplomacy has failed, Ambassador Han reported grimly. They are preparing to settle this matter by force. Doctor, Cho looked around the assembly hall, seeing fear and uncertainty in the faces of beings from across the galaxy. Admiral Su-Jin Yoon watched from the bridge of the massive construction vessel Harmony as the largest joint fleet in galactic history assembled around them. Ships from dozens of species floated in perfect formation, their diverse designs creating a tapestry of technological achievement that would have been impossible just months before. The Reality Anchor project had succeeded beyond all expectations, but not in the way anyone had anticipated. Instead of simply building a device to stop the void storms, the cooperative effort had transformed galactic civilization itself. Admiral, we are receiving confirmation from all sector commanders, reported Captain Ye-Jin Seo from her position at the communications console. The Reality Anchor is ready for deployment. Su-Jin studied the tactical display showing their position at the edge of the galaxy, where the void storms raged with increasing intensity. The chaotic energy patterns that had consumed hundreds of star systems over the millennia now faced their first real challenge. Dr. Sang-Woo Kim approached the Admiral's command chair, his face showing the exhaustion of months spent perfecting the Reality Anchor technology. The final calculations are complete, he reported. The device will need to be manually deployed at the storm's epicenter, approximately 1 million kilometers into the chaos zone. Survival probability for the deployment team? Su-Jin asked, though she already knew the answer. Essentially 0 using conventional technology, Sang-Woo admitted. However, the volunteer crews from different species have found ways to modify their ships using combined technologies. They believe they can survive long enough to complete the deployment. The volunteer mission had been another unexpected development. When it became clear that deploying the Reality Anchor would likely be a suicide mission, representatives from every major species had stepped forward to volunteer. The Corvani hardliners, who had initially opposed the entire project, had provided some of the most advanced shield technology available. The Corvani volunteers report ready, announced Commander Hyun Junbei from the tactical station. Their shield systems have been integrated with luminal energy barriers and Nexari quantum armor. The combined protection should allow them to penetrate deeper into the storm than any single species technology could manage. Su-Jin nodded, remembering the dramatic change that had occurred in the Corvani leadership. When their homeworld had begun showing signs of void storm contamination, their aggressive stance toward humanity had shifted overnight. Faced with the immediate prospect of extinction, they had embraced the Reality Anchor project with the same intensity they had previously used to oppose it. All vessels report ready for the final phase, Ye-Jin announced. The Reality Anchor is powered and standing by. The device itself was a marvel of cooperative engineering. No single species could have built it alone, as it required technologies and materials that existed across the galaxy. The Kythera had provided biological components that could adapt to changing conditions. The ethereal conclave had contributed crystalline matrices that could focus quantum energies. Even the energy-based luminal had sacrificed part of their collective consciousness to serve as the device's control system. Begin deployment sequence, Su-Jin ordered. The massive Reality Anchor separated from the construction vessel, its form shifting and adapting as different technological systems came online. It was beautiful in its complexity, with flowing organic curves from Kythera biotechnology, blending seamlessly with the geometric precision of human engineering and the ethereal crystalline structures of the conclave. The volunteer fleet moved into formation around the Reality Anchor, their combined shields creating a protective bubble that glowed with energy from multiple species' defensive systems. At the center of the formation, Captain Ye-Jin's ship served as the mission commander vessel, carrying representatives from every participating civilization. Entering the storm boundary, Ye-Jin reported, as her ship led the formation into the chaotic energy field at the galaxy's edge. All systems functioning within acceptable parameters. Su-Jin watched the tactical display as the volunteer fleet penetrated deeper into the void storm, than any previous expedition had managed. The combined technologies were working, allowing them to maintain cohesion and communication despite the reality-warping effects of the Chaos Zone. "Deployment point reached," came Ye-Jin's voice, now distorted by the quantum interference surrounding her ship. "Beginning reality anchor activation sequence." Dr. Sang-Woo monitored the device's systems from the safety of the fleet command post. "All components responding normally," he reported. "The luminal consciousness matrix is establishing quantum locks on the storm's core fluctuations." For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. The void storm continued its chaotic dance of destruction, consuming matter and energy with the same relentless hunger it had shown for millennia. Then slowly, the patterns began to change. "It is working," breathed Dr. Yunjin Lee from her position at the quantum analysis station. "The reality anchor is stabilizing the fundamental quantum structure of the storm region. The change was not immediate or dramatic, but it was undeniable. The chaotic energy patterns that had defined the void, storms began to organize themselves, forming stable structures that pulsed with creative rather than destructive force. Transformation is accelerating," Sang-Woo reported, his voice filled with amazement. "The storm energy is converting to what appears to be pure creative potential." On the tactical display, the dark zones that had marked areas of total destruction began to brighten. Star systems that had been consumed by the storms were being reborn, not as they had been before, but as something entirely new and wonderful. "Admiral," Ye-Jin's voice came through clearly now, as the quantum interference faded, "you need to see this." The main display shifted to show the view from Ye-Jin's ship. Where the void storm had raged just hours before, now swirled clouds of luminous gas shot through with streams of pure energy. New stars were being born at an accelerated rate, and around them, planets were forming with impossible speed. "The creative energy is not just restoring what was lost," Dr. Lee observed. "It is generating entirely new forms of matter and life that could serve as homes for civilizations we have not yet imagined." The transformation spread outward from the reality anchor's position, converting the destructive chaos of the void storms into waves of creative force that revitalized everything they touched. Dead systems came alive with new possibilities, and even the space between stars filled with energies that promised new forms of existence. "General Bay," Sujin called to the military coordinator, "what is the status of the Corvani forces?" "The hardline fleet has stood down completely," Bay reported. "Their homeworld is being restored by the transformation wave. Emperor Kothvar has transmitted a formal apology to humanity and a request to join the Reality Anchor project permanently." The success had been more complete than anyone had dared hope. Not only had they stopped the void storms, but they had transformed a galactic crisis into an opportunity for unprecedented growth and development. Over the following weeks, as the transformation wave spread throughout the affected regions, representatives from every known species gathered to establish what they called the New Galactic Covenant. Unlike the previous system based on maintaining stability and avoiding change, the new agreement emphasized growth, cooperation, and the willingness to embrace evolution. Elder statesman Min Kyu Ro addressed the assembly during the covenant signing ceremony. "The Vilthara prophecy has been fulfilled, but not in the way any of us expected," he said, looking out at the diverse gathering of beings from across the galaxy. "Humanity was indeed the catalyst that changed everything, but we could not have succeeded alone." President Song, now serving as Earth's representative to the Galactic Council, added her own observations. "We have learned that being a catalyst species does not mean dominating or controlling others. It means inspiring them to become the best versions of themselves and working together to achieve things that no single civilization could accomplish alone." The transformation had changed more than just the physical structure of the galaxy. It had fundamentally altered how different species related to each other. The fear and suspicion that had dominated galactic politics for millennia had been replaced by curiosity and cooperation. Dr. Cho, now serving as the director of the Joint Research Initiative studying the transformed regions, made regular reports on their discoveries. "The creative energy released by the Reality Anchor has produced forms of matter and life that exceed our wildest theoretical predictions," he announced during one council session. "We are finding planets where the distinction between organic and artificial life has no meaning, Star systems where consciousness exists as a fundamental force of nature and forms of existence that require us to completely rethink our understanding of what life can be. The most remarkable discovery came when long-range sensors detected signals from distant galaxies. Other catalyst species, apparently awakened by humanity's success, were beginning to emerge across the universe. The transformation that had saved their galaxy was just the beginning of a cosmic-scale evolution. Admiral Yoon, now commanding the exploration fleets investigating the transformed regions,